Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast, Fulfillment in Faith. I am your host, Shannan Mondor. Today's episode is a continuation of my series, You Are Not the Only One. I was brought forth to do this series because during my healing from my addiction to alcohol, there were so many times that the universe had brought me to silence. And it was during those times when I learned so many things about myself, and I was guided. I was guided to talk openly about my past, my abuse, my addiction, and to speak my truth. From those moments of silence is when we learn, we grow, and then we teach and we help others. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Avani Patel, and she is here to share her story. So welcome, Avani. How are you?
I am good, and thank you for having me on your podcast. I've been excited about this for a while now, ever since we met.
Oh, I know. And I am so blessed to have you on this podcast of mine. And yeah, I'm excited about you to share your story. So let's get into this, my dear, and just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then you can just go right straight into your story.
Sure. My name is Avni Patel. I currently live in the Chicagoland area. I am a mother of twin boys that are 18, almost 19, married for 21 years and plus. So yeah, I think in my life, I think I've had a pretty good life, but of like most people, I've had like trials and tribulations. And so to start off, like I was born in India. I came here when I was 3 years old, and we settled into San Antonio, Texas. I grew up, with a great combination of, the Eastern religion, culture, values, and things like that, as well as adapting all these beautiful Western things, the free all these freedoms that we grow up with, and building great relationships. And then I went to school at college at UT Austin, which is a huge party school. So I really, really enjoyed partying, having a great time in college. But I always remember, I can look back now thinking I really did try to control my drinking. I didn't really quite enjoy it, but I felt like it was part of needing to fit in, and just wanting to, like, it was just so normalized as part of the culture, the college culture, and all of that. And so I think that's what it was. Of course, once in a while, it was nice to like escape. You're having, you know, relationship things or friendship issues or stressed out because of school, right? And so it allowed me to escape. So fast forward, I moved to Chicago, get married, have kids. And I remember it's a Friday night. We had just come back from a friend's house. I had a couple of glasses of wine. I'm feeling, really good. And I put the boys to bed. It's around midnight. When we get home, I put the boys to bed. They're like 10, so, just tuck them in. And I get a call from my dad. And my mom had had a heart attack, and I could hear the ambulance, trying to resuscitate her. And she had been without like breathing for like 6 7 minutes at that point. And that night I booked a flight to immediately get back to Texas so that I could be with my family. And so that whole night, of course, I don't sleep because you just don't know what's going on. And when I get to my mom at the ICU, and she is in a medically induced coma, just to get her to, get her vitals back, they'd performed heart surgery. I look at my mom, and I've never seen her in this state, right? She's always been, like moving and talking and vibrant. And I see her in this state of like non-movement, right? Like catatosis. Like, um, and at that moment, I said, I surrendered. I surrendered to God. And I said, you know what? All that fun that I just had last night doesn't matter if I can't have my. And so I said, God, please take care of my mom. I surrender to you. Like, whether she survives or not survives, that's up to you. But promise me you'll take care of her. And in return, I won't drink. And that was the day that I decided I'm no longer going to drink. And so, of course, my mother passed away. A few days later, we had to take her off of the ventilators because her brain just didn't have any function because she'd been down for so long. But what that allowed me to do was to face my grief head on, because now I did not have anything to like subdue my emotions, my thoughts, and everything. And I was also able to be there for my family, for my kids who had seen their grandmother in this state, and they were very, very close to my mom, and other people who were affected by this. And I think it allowed me to be there for others and myself because I didn't have anything to hold on to, kind of like drink my sorrows away, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I like about your story is that you recognized in advance that alcohol is used as a numbing mechanism. And so many people don't get to that point of awareness. So that's why they just continue on and on and on. And so you recognize that.
It
Yep.
didn't take it until I quit to
Yep.
realize it, but I never drank that much. I was a 2 glass of wine kind of person. Like that was a max, I'm 4'10" and a half. So like I just couldn't take that much. But it wasn't until like I surrendered.
Mm-hmm.
And then going through this, I was like, we're in the hospital for a few days. And I'm like, what do you reach for? You reach within, you reach for that stillness.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I know with you after you quit drinking that a lot of people were quite surprised that, because there's that stigma that we get after that people portray on us after we quit drinking. And I know that you encountered that because, a lot of people didn't know my story, of my addiction from my past. And so when I would say, oh, well, I don't drink, they'd look at me like I was crazy. And I'm actually looking at them like they're crazy because they're still drinking. Because once you totally quit drinking and you go within, I'll tell you, that is the best feeling in the entire world, to know that you can tackle whatever you want, or anything that comes to you with an open and clear mind, and that you've got guidance with the universe. There's nothing in this world that you can even compare it to. So it goes the other way with me. I feel really sorry for somebody that has to have a drink. And if they look at that as a form of entertainment, that's where I also feel very sorry for them. If you got to go in the pool and you got to have a drink of beer, while you're in the pool or the hot tub, or to go out for supper, because I just really feel that the alcohol takes your presence absolutely away because your focus is on the drink. And tell me about what you encountered, because I know that you did.
Yeah. So same, right? Like the first, when I tell people, oh, I don't drink anymore, they look at you and the first question, is the assumption is, was she an alcoholic?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say, no, I wasn't an alcoholic. I quit, because my mom passed away. Then the next question, well, was your mom an alcoholic? No, she wasn't either. I did this for my own self-improvement. And think about it. I really think that it's a cultural thing here. So
Yep.
growing up in an Eastern culture, when you go to somebody's house, they give you a glass of water. Maybe they'll ask you if you want some snacks or whatever, right? It's very, just like not normalized. As soon as you walk into somebody, that is really part of the Western culture, the first question they ask you when you walk in the door is, what do you want to drink?
Yeah. And that bothers me so much because I've got children, and this is normalized for my children now. And that bothers me because there's addiction on both sides of the family, and nobody sees it. And if they do see it, they want to ignore it. They want to sweep it under the rug because that is their sense of approval, right? When they get all together, there's got to be that alcohol present. Oh my God. Like I think about it now, how many families out there can actually stand themselves if they don't have alcohol. They can't,
Or
because
friendships.
themselves. And another thing too, do they really know themselves? Do they really know themselves on a family unit basis or whatever if there's always alcohol present? Because you're masking.
Yeah, and that's with friendships too, right? It's
Oh
like
God.
if your friendship completely depends on you guys getting drunk and having a good time, is there really substance to any of your relationships, whether it's your family or your friends or whoever? Because we're just using this as a way to have fun. I love the friendships that I have now because I can have deep conversations with people, meaningful, impactful conversation, not just the kind of conversations you have when you're drunk that don't, that are like, I would say useless, but I don't know if that's too harsh. Right. But it's now it's like now that I'm not drinking or, don't drink, I can surround myself with people that truly want to, are into the self development. Since I stopped drinking, my meditation for the last 8 years, my meditation practice has gone so well because I don't, have anything within me that is kind of creating changes or creating, different mindset. So I feel like I'm more of a pure and clearer vessel because I'm not drinking. And, I love that.
Speaking of that, I read a lot of books, and I've read so many times in various books by different authors that 1 year in sobriety, what you complete in 1 year of sobriety, personal goals, business goals, whatever it is, it takes 10 years for someone to do the exact same thing, drinking. It takes that individual 10 years. And I can totally see it because I look at myself now. And it's like the stuff that I have accomplished in every area of my life. Now that's a quantum leap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking about friends, I know that totally and completely firsthand because I'm going to say 99% of my friendships were all based around alcohol, whether them coming to me or me coming to them. And yeah, just sit there and drink, and lots of times, like meaningless conversations, sometimes not even talk at all, just so we could sit and we could have a drink as an excuse.
Yeah,
And
and you're not the best version of yourself, right? Like, how many
no.
arguments did you probably have because you were drunk and you were just irritable, not irritable, but not in that state of rationale?
Well, and so many people don't understand that, we are vibrational beings. And, when we're first brought on this earth, we are high frequency beings. And the more toxins and the poisons that we put into our body, the more we decrease our vibration. And drinking alcohol, that's poison that we put in our body. And people need to really become aware of it. And I'm finally glad, like I was just listening to this amazing podcast the other day that my daughter had sent to me, because my kids now are becoming aware at how poisonous and toxic alcohol is. And it's just like, I just look at myself for when I used to drink, and gosh, like the people that I attracted, all of that. And you are who you attract. And because I was such a low vibrational being, like my life was full of depression, anxiety, chaos, anger, fear, like everything. And now I look at myself and it's all about joy, love, helping people. It's just totally different. Like, and the people that I have in my life, I absolutely love. I love them, and they love me. And
Genuinely.
yeah, and it's people like that I'm connecting with all over the world, right? Like even you, Avani, and like people that I'm, Gagan in England and all these other people. And it's just like, wow. And that's where our energy comes in. I don't have to be in the same room as somebody for them to feel my energy, to feel my love. And that's what's so amazing. You don't get that when you drink alcohol. You do not get that.
Yeah, and I want to bring up a point of what you just said about the vibration, right? There is a reason why alcohol is called spirits. And when it's a very low vibration, so where do spirits hang out? At bars. places where there's low vibration. And so when you think about alcohol and why it's called spirit, it's because of the vibration that alcohol holds. It's a very energetically, it's a very almost a magnetic vibration because it attracts people that are low, that are feeling low, right? A lot of times when you go to bars and you go to these places, what kind of people, not, I'm not saying anything bad about people, but oftentimes there's people that go there every day or often, and they're feeling bad, they're feeling depressed, they don't have any hope, you
There's
know, and so escaping, yeah. And so, you know, the addiction and all that. So that's why alcohol is called spirits. It's just the vibration that it holds.
I never thought of that before. I never thought of that before. And now when you said that and I think that in my mind, like the pit of my stomach just drops. Oh,
Yeah.
so
And I
heavy.
probably didn't do a great job of explaining it,
No, I think you did
but
a
you
very
know
good
what I
job.
mean. Okay.
Yeah, I think you did a very, very good job with that. Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely, yeah, that is so correct, right? Wow. Huh.
Yeah. When I learned that, you know, through just like my own work, I was like, oh, that just makes a lot of sense. You know, wherever alcohol tends to flow, right? What's that energy there?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've grown so much within myself now that, and I know energy and I know vibration so well. Well, you know that about me. And let me tell you, I cannot be around people that drink anymore. I just can't put myself there because the feeling that I have within me and the energy that people are giving off, it's just like, no, I can handle being around a person if they have one drink, two drinks, that's it. No more than that. And I will remove myself. Like you will
You
never
will.
catch me. You will never catch me in a lounge or a bar or anything like that. If I'm at a place where there's alcohol being served at someone's house or anything like that, I will watch and I pay attention to how many drinks people are having. And then if I can't get away from that person quick enough, then I will leave. I cannot be around that.
How did you build such strict resiliency when it comes to these types of rules and not allowing yourself to be in these situations and knowing when to leave?
Because I protect my sobriety. Boy, do I protect it. I will do anything with it because if I don't have my sobriety, I don't have my life because of my past history, being brought up in a household which is full of addiction and it still continues to this day with my family having to release them. I love them dearly. But you know what? I had to do it for my own good. And that's releasing, everybody from that aspect of life. And another thing too is I am a mentor now to my children. That's the most important thing because with the addiction in my family, that's generational. And I was very much there. I was abusive, as well, while I was in the whole turmoil of my addiction. And it's no, it had to stop with me. And I'll do anything to protect my sobriety. I'll do anything to protect me, but I'll also do anything to protect my children from them getting that addiction. Because if I didn't get that under wraps, my children would have become addicts too. There's no question because I normalized alcohol within our family. I was the first one there with the wine drinking and drinking every night. Like Avani, I was drinking 6 bottles of wine, 6 bottles. And I'm
When? In one night?
yep, 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 within a day.
Wow.
And I also made my own wine. So it was just like a free for all, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's how bad it was with me. And I'm 5'1.5". I'm going to put that half.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm 5'1.5", and I weigh 121 pounds. I was
how
just,
did you handle that much
well, you
alcohol?
know what? It is the more you drink, the more you build resistance to it, right? But then yeah, it just I was a puddle of mess. It was so bad by the time I went to treatment that I couldn't even get out of bed. because of what was happening in my life. And if I did get out of bed, the first thing I would do is go get more wine, and then I would head back to bed because I wanted to pass out, right? I didn't want to live anymore. So that's why I'll do anything to protect myself. Yeah.
I love that you're breaking the generations of this cycle. I don't know if you've heard, like in the spiritual community, it's called like breaking the karmic cycle because it comes from like each generation. And it is up to us as parents and people who have seen whatever behaviors before. Like for my family, it was stress, it was worry, that kind of stuff. And that's, like my mom was so stressed out and worried about everyone that she ended up having a heart attack. So whatever it is, and for you it's drinking, right?
Well,
It's that.
you know what the funny thing is,
Uh-huh.
Avani, is I wrote my book, right? And it's called
Mhm.
How in the Hell Did I Get Here? And then the subtitle is called, because you're talking about genetics or whatever, right? It's
Mhm.
called where I want to show you the title of my book so you can actually see it. Didn't I showed you the book earlier,
You
didn't I?
just showed it to me. Yeah, it's probably right in front of you.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. So how in the hell did I get here? Forever changing the genetic blueprint, right?
Mhm.
And the reason I picked that title of my book was because how in the hell did I get here? Right? How in the hell did I get here? And how many of us will say that to ourselves, right? And then I had to put forever changing the genetic blueprint because so many of us out there don't realize that this is genetic. You need to look even further past you. And that's going to take some of the shame away as well, right? Because it probably didn't start with you. It probably started with someone in your family, and it's been carried on generation to generation to generation. So once you become aware of that, that's why with me it was like, no, it's freaking stopping with me. I am so done with this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect my children.
Right. Well, it becomes like a tool to not escape, but like to be able to handle difficult situations. But we have to teach our kids that there's other ways
Yeah.
to cope with the stresses of life because life is going to throw things at you, right? Even if you have the best life and the best mindset, which you and I both continuously work on, things are going to happen to us. But how we receive that is the key. Now, do we want, to teach our kids to receive it through drugs, through alcohol, through, other toxic things, bad relationships, all of that? Do you want to teach them healthier ways to be able to cope with, curveballs in life?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're doing.
And I really find like my younger kids now, well, even with my older kids, we even went that through it too, that, in order to have a good time or to walk into a party, you need to have that drink in your hand. And I am trying to teach my kids, you don't need that. All you need is that love for yourself and that self-confidence, like to walk into a party and to know that you can walk up to anybody and talk to them. That's the greatest gift that you can give yourself. Fun isn't wrapped around that bottle in your hand.
That's funny you say that about talking to people because that's literally what it's called is liquid courage,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
People have more courage when they have something in them that subdues all their fears and stuff so that they can talk to people, they can go ask someone out, whatever. But do we really need that? Or can we create a sense of courage within ourselves where we don't depend on something else outside of us to be able to do that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm going to go back to a comment that you had said a little bit earlier regards when, we were talking about not drinking anymore. And then people would ask you if you were an alcoholic, or you would be forthcoming and say, no, I'm not an alcoholic or anything. When people ask me, people will kind of look at me like, oh, I don't drink anymore. Now that's of course the first thing that they will think is, oh, is she an alcoholic or whatever? And I'm at that point now, if I can really see them looking at me, and I'll say, yeah, you know what, I was. And I will be open, totally, completely open about it, because I'm not ashamed of that. I am not ashamed of that in any way, shape, or form, because that was all a part of my journey. And it's amazing how uncomfortable people are, if you say that. But I don't call myself an alcoholic either. I say that I was addicted to alcohol, because I will not put that label on me either. That's a label that I totally refuse to have. That's why even when I first came out of treatment, they really push for you to go to AA or whatever it is. And I went there about 6 times and I just hated it. Number one, vibrationally, how depressing. You go in there and it's, all these low vibration people. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, because some people really need that community. But for me, I just could not do that, because I know the power of I am. I am is God. And when I would talk and I would have to stand up and I would say, I am an alcoholic, I was like, that is so wrong. That part of me is in the past. I'm dealing with that. That part of me was even before I went into the treatment center. I went to the treatment center. I'm working on myself. I'm healing myself. So why is it that I need to have that label with me for the rest of my life? And I was like, no way. That's just not going to happen anymore. I was addicted to alcohol, and now I am a strong person. I am confident. I am beautiful. I am successful. I am a mentor. I am a powerful woman. That's what I am. I am not an alcoholic. And that's what people really need to see out there. And I could really see within the AA that I went to, that there was a relapse of people over and over and over and over. Well, it's just like a hamster wheel. When you're caught in that vibration, of course it's going to just become a relapse after a relapse after a relapse. Why do you not want to become in a community where I am in, and I create a community, and I'm a coach just like you, right? And look forward where where we help people create that end result, right? And you grow into that end result, and we teach you that, right? There's so many other ways, that you can overcome this addiction.
And that's what you're here for, right? Like, you had to go through that journey, to become who you are. And you say it with so much conviction, right? I am not an alcoholic. Like, the way you said that just gave me chills. And now you're here to teach people that there's a lighter way to do this, besides having to repeat this, really high, dense, statement that doesn't make you feel good energetically and lowers your vibration. But when you flip it, and like you are, and teaching other people how to do that, where it doesn't have to be so heavy anymore, there's more freedom or lightness to how you're teaching others.
There's so much shame attached to that, and there shouldn't be anymore. You've gone through that process, you've learned and you've grown. So why do you have to stay attached to that? And that's what I really want people to know and understand. And yeah, because you've even felt that shame, because people thought that about you, but you weren't, you quit drinking for the love of yourself and for the love of commitment for your family. And you didn't have that addiction like I did, but you still felt that shame.
Right. And I didn't want to justify myself. Like, you do such a good job of saying, yes, I was. And, but I, at that time in my life, I just didn't feel like, why do I have to justify? Like, alcohol is literally the only drug that you have to justify why you don't take it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Why? When I say, oh, let's say I stopped doing cocaine, is somebody gonna be like, why? Why did you do that? No. They're gonna be like, good for you. But when I say, oh, I stopped alcohol, then it's like, well, what was wrong with you? Why would you do such a thing? I mean, why? Why do I have to justify any of that?
Well, what makes me laugh too is, like, you don't see a lot of smokers anymore, right? But it's how crazy society has become, where if you're a smoker, oh my God, you're a smoker? Like, that just stinks everything up, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, so you don't think that alcohol doesn't make people stink? Are you kidding me? It makes them stink in every area of their life. Smoking doesn't make people abuse others. Smoking doesn't make people lose your job. Smoking doesn't make marriages end. You know what I mean? Smoking doesn't, long term, yeah, it's going to make you end your life. But it's just so crazy how we as a society have conformed to thinking that alcohol is so cool. And this whole culture of wine monks, like even the logos of the t-shirts. Hey, and I used to have one. And I used to think that that was so cool to wear. And now I just think, smack my forehead. Like
Mhm.
it's just, and then to create that next generation with our children to think that that's cool. And it's so far from cool.
Right. And you remember, like when, a mom is drinking wine, right? It's like they teach your kids it's mommy's juice,
God,
and it's just, right?
I
It's just,
totally
it's,
know.
or there's like those t-shirts, right? Like, wine, coffee by day, wine by night, or, any of those, right? It's like, we have sensationalized it so much that it's become not normal to not
Not
drink.
drink.
But
Well,
now mocktails and everything have really been on the rise because more and more people are realizing that they just don't want alcohol in their life, or they want another option when they want it. And so like mocktails are skyrocketing, these like non-alcoholic drinks, the seltzer waters and things like that. I mean, they're really doing a good job. Whereas back when you and I probably quit, it probably wasn't as common, but now slowly society is catching up to it.
mhm. And it's really sad, and you see it everywhere. It's so sad that wherever you can go get a haircut, you got to go to the spa, it's sip and shop, like everything. It's a ploy to get people to come in and get a service or shop or do whatever. Yeah, come into my store because I'm going to give you a complimentary beer, or I'm going to give you a complimentary wine. That's how low of a vibration that our society has come to. And that's really, really, really sad. That's so sad. And I just think, wow, wow, like things really have got to change. But yet, all of these people that do become, end up having an addiction, we as a society, we can sure dump that alcohol on everybody. But when it comes to when they actually do have that problem, there's nothing available for the mental illness and the treatment to help cure. That's what really upsets me. You can sure push the alcohol, advertisements everywhere. But oh my gosh, if you get an addiction, we're going to put a blind eye to it and just pretend that it didn't even happen. And it's society that is pushing all of this, but yet they're the first ones to ignore it as well. So I think that really has to be balanced out.
Yeah, society and the people that are close to you. The second you stop drinking, who's going to support you? You literally feel alone.
Oh,
It becomes a very lonely journey because all those people no longer want to deal with somebody that doesn't drink or want to help support you in becoming sober
yeah. They
because everybody's
support
involved in their own worlds, their
the
own
one
drinking.
the one thing I found with my people close to me that loved me, they sure would support me just as long as they could drink around me. Yeah. And then once I started to speak my truth about my addiction and everything, that was when I started to lose everybody. So I had to do a lot of praise and release because a lot of people were embarrassed for the fact that I was speaking my truth on my addiction, because they were so worried about what other people would think, because they had this image that they had to uphold. And it was just like, wow, like this is so sad. I'm finally at a place in my life where I love myself. I'm healing. I'm speaking my truth. I'm being the best version of me. I'm finding my greatness. I'm helping others. But yet you make it all about you. That's really sad. That is so sad. And that was where I really had to praise and release and let these individuals go. But that was also me breaking the cycle that had been happening in my life over and over and over and over and over, and that was the best thing I could ever do, because my growth since then had allowed all these people that do truly love me to come in. So totally.
Yeah, you had to release them to allow the real people that
Yeah.
you want in your life to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Wow, like this was such an amazing conversation. It ended up being so much about me and you as well. Like, what a great open conversation. But I do want to ask you, Avani, what is it that you learned throughout your whole process with that you take with you and really hold within your heart?
I learned how to connect to myself and how to be my own self, and that I don't need other people at all. And I love people, but yet I need to go within. I don't need approval from others. I don't need validation from others. I have to get that from within. And that is the only way that we continue to grow and develop, is when we go within. And all of these external factors that we look at, whether it's, alcohol or, the fancy stuff, any of that doesn't matter if you can't go within and continue to heal the layers back and become your most authentic self. And that's what it was for me, the journey to right back to me, the real me.
Mm-hmm. Um, with your journey, what is the biggest advice that you could give others?
That I know it's lonely, or it can be lonely. Find like-minded people that really love and accept you and have the same goals, same values that you do, so that when you do need support, you'll be able to do it. And if you can't find it, then you have to find and power through within until those people come, and they will come, because there are so many people like us out there. But just do it for you and only you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that is the one thing I went through a really, really lonely time because I had to release everybody. And I think that was one of the hardest times of my life because of the loneliness. But let me tell you, I hung in there, and now I've got the most beautiful life ever. So it just takes, when you are ready to give up, that's when you got to push forward, because that's when you're just getting over that hump where your life totally changes.
Exactly. Use every inch of like stamina that you have, like you said, right, to push through, and you will get to the other side. And it's beautiful on the other side.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Um, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you now in life?
So I love when you were talking about like the past, and the karmas and all of that, because it really is very close to my heart. I'm a hypnotherapist, so I help people with age regression. So, if you have fears, phobias, things like that in this life. But I also do past life regression. So I really get to see some of these patterns, that kind of what we were talking about, that people have carried over from other lifetimes that are affecting them now. So part of what I do is hypnotherapy to help my clients really kind of get those deep seated things out of their subconscious and putting in more healthier um, behaviors and patterns. And then I also am a coach. So I help women who are burnt out, mostly through corporate America or just corporate in general. Really, they're overworking, they're stressed, they're tired. And then, of course, like we talked about, what do they do to unwind? A glass of wine, or something else that numbs them, like Netflix or, things like that. Helping them really break free from the grind, the hustle, the overworking, finding those things those patterns from that are keeping them burnt out, and then creating a life where they have more freedom, more time, more happiness, feeling fulfilled in their life.
Mm-hmm. So if someone was trying to look you up, what's your website? What's your handles there?
Okay, so like I go by eternal alchemists. So if you go, because I really believe that through life we're alchemizing, right? We're taking things in our life that don't serve us, and we're making them into, and we're transmuting them into things that really create happiness and purpose in our lives. So I go by Eternal Alchemist. So you can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn under Eternal Alchemist, and my hypnotherapy is under eternalalchemists.com. But my coaching stuff, because it's corporate, I keep it as coachavnipatel.com.
Okay, so I just want the audience to know too that all of the information is going to be in the podcast notes. And it is at this time that I would like to invite everybody to please go to my website, shannonmondor.com. I ask that you check it out and look at my one-on-one coaching with my Fulfillment in Faith program, which is a 6-month personal development and mindset program, which will absolutely change your life. And I know because I created it personally, I live it every single day. I've gone through all of the steps. And I just want to ask everybody, if you love this podcast, this one was such a good one. I like, they're all good, but I absolutely loved our conversation. I invite everybody to please subscribe and to share this with others out there. So at this time, I want to thank you. That was such an amazing interview. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love this conversation. It went so many different levels and it was amazing.
There were so many directions that we went. Like, I'm sure
Mhm.
that anybody that's listening to this is probably just going to be like, what? Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, you're so right. Oh, yeah. This was a really, really good one. Yeah. So I absolutely loved it. So, one last final thank you. And I want to thank everybody for listening. So everybody have just an absolutely amazing day.
Thank you.